All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. Today, we are going to be going over the current war, which is not current like what's happening right now. I'm talking about current, like electric current. The battle between Tesla and Edison. This is one of my favorite lessons to teach about because, again, it's one of those things that it's not really mentioned in the history books, but you watch any really documentary and uh, kind of special thing on electricity or Tesla or Edison, and they're going to talk about this incident, this what happened between these two. It's really interesting. It's really intriguing what they do and some of that, how they go against each other. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the objective. We're going to analyze the importance and significance of Tesla and Edison. We're going to examine the difference between AC and DC power. Yes, there is a difference, okay? Electricity is not the same. And then we're going to create an argument on who was more influential, Tesla or Edison. All right, so here is your warm-up picture. The first question asks you, basically tell me what's going on here, okay? Now, uh, the second question asks you, who do you think is going to win this little battle here? Now, Tesla is the guy who's with the mustache and looks younger. Edison's the other guy. Now, if you look at their staffs, Edison, the older guy, the top of his staff might look familiar. You guys have seen it time and time again. Okay. Now, Teslas might not look familiar, but we are going to be talking about that, what it is and what it does. Okay. So, who do you think is going to win between them two? So, write your responses, pause the video, okay, because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right, so Thomas Alva Edison was born February 11th, 1847, in Milan, Ohio. Now, here's the thing, you have to give respect where respect is due. And Edison, he is a genius, okay? Is he like the smartest genius of all time? Heck no. But should he be involved in that group? Yeah, he deserves it, okay? Um, he only had 6 months of uh, formal education, okay? Now, what does that mean? Formal education. That's school. Okay. He only had 6 months of education out of school. Now, the thing is, some of my former students and even some this year have been saying, like, well, you know, yeah, because, hey, that's all you need. You don't really need school. Here's the thing, the difference between not going to school and not wanting to learn are totally different things. Okay. Yes, he didn't go to school, but he had that desire to learn. He learned to read, write, and do math from his mother. But a lot of stuff he was interested in, he went and learned how to do it himself. Now, you have to remember, this is before the internet. This is before YouTube and stuff like that. So if you wanted to find something out, you had to hope that there was a book on it, or that there was somebody who was in that trade in town or nearby town, and you could learn from them. Other than that, good luck, you know. So when his family moved to Michigan, he really got into science, and technology. How did things work? Specifically, one invention called the telegraph. Now we've talked about this in the past, right? It's the little thing that goes dee 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 dee. He's like, wow, how does this thing transfer a signal from this place to way, 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 way over here, miles away? How does it send it? And how does a person hear these dots and dashes and know that's an A, that's an R, that's an E, that's a T, that's an H, it's an E? Yeah, how do you know that? From just listening really quickly, and it comes quick, fast. So how do you translate that? So at 13, he started selling candies and newspapers at the railway area. Right, trains coming in, selling candy, newspaper, stuff like that. But he's also keeping an eye on the telegrapher, the people then there inside sending messages. Hey, train's coming this time. It's leaving now. Such such cargo is inside. La 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 la. Okay. Now, at 16, he was able to get a job as a telegrapher full time. By 16, he already knew how to translate the dots and dashes. He could operate it, and he knew how the machine worked. That's pretty impressive. Now, at 21, he created his first invention. Now, guys, if you ever invent something, you need to patent it. Basically, that's making a claim saying, I invented this. So if somebody tries to come around later on, saying, hey, I invented this, um, they can't make money off of it because you claimed it first. Now, here's the thing, like one student asked me in class, well, what if it's the same item but it's made a little different? Then that's something else. If one uses, let's say, I don't know, aluminum to make something amplify the noise, and something uses steel, it doesn't amplify the noise. um, then they're two different, and then people would pick whichever one was better, the aluminum or the steel one, whatever the device may be or item may be, you know. So that's that. Okay, he created an electric voting machine. It was intended for Congress, but Congress is like, well, it's nice, but we don't really need this. And then he tried to sell it to the public, and the public's like, why are we going to need an electronic voting machine when we vote on paper? Why? This doesn't really help us. So from that moment on, he basically said, you know what? I'm going to make things that the public actually wants. Now, his first true successful invention was an improvement on the stock ticker. Okay, it's this machine that gives a little ribbon that says how much a stock has gone up, down. It might say like AT&T, it might say like McDonald's, it'll say like 9.2% up, 5.3% down. And people who are in the stock market could see what it read in the stock market. We have this now. It's called a ticker. It's on the bottom and it goes like in circle basically. Um, when you're watching the news and stuff like that, it's on the bottom. It'll say like up, down, AT&T, Verizon, la la la, whatever it may be. So because of that improvement, he got $40,000 for it. Okay, now he got worldwide um, attention with the invention of the tinfoil phonograph. Okay, people could now record themselves saying things and then replay it so they could hear. This just blew people's minds away because the only time you could hear somebody is they were talking to you right there and then. Now they could have somebody talk, read a book, something, and if that person dies, now they have a copy, a recording of that person's voice, and they can have it now for all time. So it's really, really unique. President Hayes actually invited Edison over to demonstrate how does this work, things like that. He was blown away. But the thing that Edison still to this day most famous for is the incandescent light bulb. Okay. Now, thing is, some people kind of tend to believe that Edison invented electricity. He didn't. Okay. Were there already light bulbs? Yes, there was, but they weren't that great. Okay. Light bulbs would be put in, and if there was even like a little power surge, they would just like explode open. Maybe even some like electric shocks would be shot out a little bit, you know. Uh, and it might catch a drape on fire, a wall, wiring might get all hot, things like that. So what the incandescent light bulb did is it made electricity practical, safe, and economical, you know. The light bulb did all that stuff. So it really did change the game when it comes to electricity. Now, in total, in his lifetime, Edison had 1,093 patents. Okay, a lot of them are improvements on things, like taking let's say, a speaker and saying, how can I fix this? How can I make it better? How can I make the sound more louder? How can I make it sound more real-like and things like that? So he would take things and improve on it. Okay, did he create things from the ground up? Yeah, he did. But was it all 1,093 of them? No. Not all of them were thought from his head. Some of them, a lot of them were improving this or that. One of his most famous quotes, he said, I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. And that's, again, a credit to his personality. Hey, this didn't work. Okay, fine. Now I know that don't work. Let me try something else. That doesn't work. Let me try something else. That doesn't work. Let me try something else. It's instead of like, oh, it didn't work. I give up. Fine. I give up. You can't do that in life. You can't just give up because something doesn't go right one or two times. You have to keep pushing. You know, that's one thing you should take away from medicine. Now, question number one, would you consider Edison as more of an inventor or an improver? So, like I said, he would take something, let's say like this, little pop figure, but let's just say this is something else. He could take this and say, I'm going to make this bigger, better, things like that. Okay. Would you consider him as an inventor? Because he took something that was already made, but he made it better. He created a way to make that item better. So would you consider him an inventor or an improver? What do you think? Okay. So pause the video, write your response, okay, because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so now we come to my boy, Nikola Tesla. All right. January 10th, 1856, and I'm going to kill this word, Smiljan, Croatia. Legend has it that he was born at the stroke of midnight on July 10th, and there was this massive thunderstorm, lightning just all over, the town, and, so that's the myth that that's how he was born. Now, Tesla hit a really hard tragedy when he was 7 years old. His brother died. And thing is, he would say, my brother's right there. I see my brother, you know. So he could be working, all of a sudden, he could, in his head, his brother be sitting there right there, or leaning against the wall, type of thing. That stuck with him till the day he died. Okay. Now, Tesla was a prodigy. He was a very smart man, right? Um, and at 26, he came up with the idea of a brushless AC motor, which is, if you look at that picture on the bottom, that's what it is. Okay, he just drew it out like this is how it would look like, this is how it would work. Now, he studied math and physics at the Technical University of Graz and philosophy at the University of Prague. Okay, so he had some brains. Now, the thing is, he really idolized Edison. He was into electricity. He wanted to know how it worked and how could you harness it and things like that. How could you transfer from one place to another at long distance? So he was really, really into electricity. Um, and so he got a job in Paris repairing direct current power plants. Okay, so he understood how this DC power works, how the power plant works. When things broke down, okay, more likely it's because of this, or this. He was good. Thing is, Tesla really, really, really wanted to work with Edison. So he packed up his stuff, went to America, and his boss in Paris, who is like one of the very few people that Edison actually liked and admired, um, the guy gave Tesla a letter saying, hey, when you get to America, go find Edison and give him this letter. In the letter, when he hands it to Edison, Edison opens it up and it says in there, "Dear Edison, I know two great men, and you are one of them. The other is this young man." That made Edison go, "Wow, if this guy is saying you're good, he's comparing you to me, you must be good." So he tells him, "What do you want?" He's like, "Well, I want a job." "Okay, come join us." And that's where they start working together. Now, after working for about a year with Edison, Edison was really intrigued by him. He was like, "Wow, this guy's pretty impressive." Not only was not Edison, Tesla a good worker, he had diligence and ingenuity. He could get scrap pieces of metal, wiring, and things like that, and make something with it. He was a very smart man. Now, the thing was, Tesla kept trying and trying and trying to convince Edison that DC, direct current power, is not as good as AC. He's like, AC power is better. And Edison's like, "No, no, see, kid, no, 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 you don't understand. See, DC is better. It's safer. AC, it's yeah, it's not gonna work." So, like I told my other students in class, like, have you ever, like, your parents are like, "Well, what should we do? What should we do?" And you're like, "I think we should do this." And you make some good points. It's valid. It's good sound logic. And your parents are like, "Oh no, no, okay, okay, yeah, sure, okay, sure." But then they're going to do something else. They're going to go their own way. But in your heart and your soul and into the very marrow of your bones that you are right, that what you suggest is the best course of action. And your parents or whoever is like, "No, no, it's okay. No, okay, fine. I'm listening to you, but we're not going to do that." If you've ever felt like that, now you know what Tesla is feeling towards Edison. Okay. Now, here is an incident that became very famous, and yeah, it was pretty bad. Edison couldn't figure out this problem with the DC dynamos. Um, and Edison's like telling Tesla, "Well, you know what? Hey, I can't figure this out. If you can figure it out, I'll pay you $50,000. So Tesla's like, 50,000. Okay, let me try this out. As Tesla's always down for a challenge. So he's looking at it, he's breaking it apart, he's doing this and that, he's trying to fix it, seeing this works. After several months and putting a lot of effort and time and sweat into this, he fixes it. He improves it. And he tells Edison, "Here's that DC dynamo. I did it. So where's my 50,000?" Edison's like, "Look, Tesla. Okay, look, you don't understand American humor. I was just joking around with you. I'm not gonna give you $50,000, but I will take this DC dynamos that you improved and made it better. Yeah, so good job." Tesla's like, "Dude, I worked so hard on that. You said you were gonna give me money. Where's the money? And now you just took it and you're not, I mean, nothing, you know." Just to throw a little salt on the wound, um, Tesla didn't get credit for it, for the patent of it. Edison does. So this is the straw that breaks the camel's back, and Tesla's like, "You know what? I'm out. Deuces." All right. So second question. So far from what you've learned, who do you feel is more fascinating, Tesla or Edison? Okay, and why? Why did you pick that person? Okay. So write your response, pause the video, because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. Sorry about that. All right. So in the late 1870s, electricity comes to New York, right? There's a power station in Lower Manhattan. thing was, it wasn't that great because there was exposed wiring on the poles, where electricity was running through. And that was a real problem because kids would climb up these poles and they'd be like, hey, you can't catch me, you can't, and fall to the ground. If you've ever seen Jurassic Park, when that little kid's on the fence and they turn on the electricity and he just shoots away, you know, that's basically what happened. Kids and cats, yeah, cats would be climbing up the poles and they hit one of those exposed wires and Fluffy isn't Fluffy anymore. Fluffy's gone, you know. Also, what happened is in Brooklyn, they had these trolley cars, which were running through electricity from the line up on top. So people were getting shocked by these electric bolts coming out of it, just, things like that. And the trolley cars were coming pretty fast too. So the people in Brooklyn kind of got used to getting out of the way, of these trolley cars and the electric bolts coming off of it, you know, from the trolley car. So when the baseball team came to Brooklyn, they're like, well, what should we name the team? And someone says, you know what sounds really good and what represents us, the people of Brooklyn, very well? The Dodgers. That's why they got the name, the Brooklyn Dodgers. And when they moved from Brooklyn to LA, they kept the name Dodgers. So if you're a baseball fan, you've ever heard of the name the Dodgers, and you're like, well, how did they get their name? If you ever wondered that, now you know. Okay. Now Tesla, he after he quits his job with Edison, he starts working by digging in ditches and things like that. But he's like, you know what? I'm going to be in the energy game. I believe AC power is better than DC, and he wants to prove it. All right. Edison gets hold of this that Tesla wants to demonstrate and show that AC power is better than DC. And Edison's like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna squash this dude. He's picking a fight with the wrong man. So Edison is financially supported by J.P. Morgan, who is again he has a company named after him named J.P. Morgan Investment. They're still around today. This guy was so rich at one point in our country. He actually bailed out the U.S. government twice. Yeah, he had that much money that the government was like, "We need so many millions and millions of dollars," and he's like, "Okay, give me a couple days. I can get it for you guys." You know, Tesla was financially supported by a guy named George Westinghouse. George Westinghouse was an inventor too, but when he heard and saw Tesla, he's like, "Oh, this guy's onto something. This guy's smart. This guy knows what he's doing." So he backed Tesla up, and this brought about the Battle of the Currents or the Current War. Okay, Tesla went out and gave lectures. Okay, and at these lectures, he would have the DC motor power, out there. He had these two big giant Tesla coils out, and electricity be shooting out them. And he would famously come out, walk between the two, stretch out his hand, and electricity would hit both his hands, one on this side, one on that side, and he'd just stand there like this with his arms open. People would be like, "Oh my God, you should be dead! Like lightning is hitting you!" And he's like, "I have the power, look at me, and look at I'm perfectly fine, I'm perfectly safe, you know." And then he would demonstrate, like he would hold a light bulb in one hand, hold his hand out to the Tesla coil, and electricity would go through him and light up the light. And that's what he's telling people. You don't need to plug this into anything. You don't. It's wireless. So if you have anything wireless, your earbuds, you charge your phone on the little pads, things like that. Your remote controls, anything that's wireless, it's thanks to Tesla. Okay. 1887, he jumps right on it. He files 7 patents for his AC motors, the generators, transformers, the transmission lines, motors, lighting, all the stuff he needs. Now, on the other side, Edison is trying to show that AC power is dangerous. So he suggests that maybe we should execute people with electrocution. So August 6, 1890, William Kemmler he's a convicted axe murderer. There's no doubt about it. This guy killed the people. I believe it was his wife. Um, he's sentenced to death by electrocution. So what happened is they put him in the chair, which Edison designed. They put a little sponge with water, put in there, put the little cap on. They put these electrodes on his back, like I think it was like 6 of them, I believe. They put these little electrodes on his back when they strapped him in. They bring down the lever, bzzz, 700 volts for 17 seconds. People who were there, they said they could smell like burning flesh and burning clothes, the smell of it. So they 17 seconds, bzzz, they stop. Doctor comes over, checks him. Yeah, he's dead. And all of a sudden, oh, and they're like, oh my God, he's not dead. So then they crank up the volts and then they hold it down for 2 minutes. It smoke's popping off of his head, and he's like, just being electrocuted. Finally, they release it. He's down, and they're like, yeah, now he's dead. When they took his body to examine, like, what was the effects of the electricity to the body and things like that, the electrodes that were on his back actually burned through the clothing, the skin, the muscle, the fat, all the way through to the spine. It burned all the way through, guys. That was not a humane death. That was basically torture. All right, so I was going to show this video. I showed it in class, but I told people, hey, if you don't want to watch this video, don't. You can watch it yourself if you want. But basically what happened is Edison electrocuted an elephant. If you want to see, there's actually a video of it. You can actually see this elephant being electrocuted. It's called Topsy Electrocution Edison. That's what you'd put on the search engine on the YouTube. That's what you put search on. Topsy electrocution and to put Edison, and you'll see the video of the elephant being electrocuted. Okay. Again, if you don't like seeing an animal get hurt in any which way, you should not watch that. It's not a requirement that you do, but if you want to see what Edison did to this poor elephant, then go ahead and check it out. Okay. But again, it's not a requirement. You don't have to watch it if you don't want to. But if you're kind of interested, you want to see how an elephant responds to being electrocuted, then go ahead and watch the video. Okay. All right. So in your next question, it says about what is AC and DC power. You can either write the what it says on top, or you can write what's on the picture above with the batteries and the light bulb. You can write either one. So DC has low voltage and basically would need a power plant every mile or so. Okay. AC, however, has more of a voltage and a power plant could cover a large area. Now, why is that? Because the thing is, DC power goes only one way. So if you look at the little picture with the batteries and the light bulb, let's say, you know, the power is going one way, and if someone turns off the light, the energy may not be able to go a full circle, you know. But with AC, alternating current, it changes direction. Okay, one's going one way, one's going the other. So whether someone like clicks off the power or not, the power is still going to get back one way or another, you know, because it's going from two ends. Okay. Now Niagara Falls, it, it it's a it's a place that we have like continuous stream of water coming down. They wanted a hydroelectric plant. They were like, well, we have all this water coming down, we might as well use it to create electricity. But they didn't know if they wanted to go with AC or DC. So they're still in the air, like, oh, what should we do? What should we do? And it just so happened that in 1893, the Chicago World Fair was starting, and they wanted electricity. So they said, okay, let's take bids. How much would it cost you guys to put lights throughout this whole buildings and things like that? Okay, so they want to know how much it would cost each company. Um, Tesla company said we could do it all for $554,000. Edison comes in saying we can do it, the electricity thing, for 1,720,000. 554,000 or 1,720,000. Which one costs less? That's Tesla's. So they went with Tesla. Now, here's the thing though. Um, the light bulbs that Tesla uses is the same type that Edison uses and sells. And when Edison found out that he lost, he was like, well, we're not selling you any light bulbs. And so basically, Tesla had to make his own. And that's what they did. Now, if you look at this picture, let me move my little video thing over here a little bit. If you look at the lighting of it, right? Up on top of the buildings, onto the side of the buildings and stuff, there were people with light bulbs ready to exchange them when one light busted or something it went out. They could quickly take out that old light bulb, put a new one in. Okay. They really wanted to make this thing go off without a hitch, and it did. People loved it. And these are people from around the world who are coming over, and they're just like, wow, look how, man, it's like a whole sun. It's, it's nighttime, but my God, you can see everything. And they're like, yeah, that's AC power by Tesla. So people were amazed, people loved it, and that was enough for Niagara Falls. People say, okay, Tesla, here you go. You guys get the contract. Here's a problem. Because they underbidded so much, because they said, oh, it only costs us $554,000, because they went so low, they couldn't really uh, do the project under Niagara Falls. Now, knowing this too, Westinghouse, for every time they did create electricity and stuff like that, um, Tesla got money. And Westinghouse basically comes to Tesla and says, hey, look at, um, I can't afford to pay you what I said I'm going to pay you. And we might be going under. We got that contract for the Niagara Falls, but we're going to lose it because I can't pay for all the stuff we need, and I can't pay you. So we're going to have to stop this whole thing. Tesla gets his patent papers, his contracts that says Westinghouse has to pay him so much money for his stuff. He tears it. Basically, now Westinghouse doesn't have to pay Tesla at all. That's how much Tesla wanted this project to go through. Now, um, J.P. Morgan uh, is a very savvy, businessman. And what he does is he basically makes sure that Westinghouse is in debt always, you know, and constantly suing him. Oh, you guys took the AC patent infringement. You guys took our ideas for this and that, and from DC, and you guys did this. And so they would constantly go to court, constantly go to court, constantly go to court. Guys, lawyers cost money, a lot of money, especially in fights like this. So Westinghouse saw, hey, this is what he's doing. he's basically taking all my money through lawyers and things like that, so I am going to be broke. So eventually, he succumbed, and J.P. Morgan bought Westinghouse and everything that was associated, connected with Westinghouse, which included Tesla's patents. Because remember, when Tesla tore up that contract, he basically saying, I don't want the rights to it anymore. So now JP Morgan owns both AC and DC power. Now, when Edison finds out about this, Edison's like, yes, yes, DC power rules, AC sucks. See, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, DC power, we beat at Tesla. JP Morgan goes, what's all this we crap? Okay, because the thing is, I now own a majority of your company, which is Edison General Electric. I'm the majority owner. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to change the name. It's no longer Edison General Electric. It's now just going to be known as General Electric. And since I own the company, I'm going to decide what power to use. And I've already decided the best power is AC. AC is so much more better than DC. JP Morgan knew this for a while. The AC power was better. So that's the kind of power we use still to this day is AC, not DC. So the electricity you see here, what's powering this laptop, what powers up your phone and things like that, that is all Tesla. Now, later in life, Tesla demonstrates the radio communication 2 years before Marconi does. Marconi is credited with being the inventor of the radio. Um, but the thing is, Tesla actually submitted his patent for the radio first. You know, and it's not until World War II when the United States goes against Italy that they're like, wait, actually Marconi didn't invent the radio first. It was actually Tesla. He put the patent in first. So Tesla is really the father of radio. Also, to demonstrate how wireless things work, Tesla is at Madison Square Garden and he has this big old pool, right? And he has this little boat and he has it there. He lets it sail a little bit. Then he busts out a little device and he's controlling whether the boat goes up, back, left, or right. And people are like, oh my God, how are you doing that? Is there wind? Is there air that's pushing it? Is there somebody in the pool moving it? And Tesla's like, no, no. See this little thing, this contraction? It's controlling that boat. There's no connection. It's wireless. And I'm controlling that boat. People are just blown away. Okay. Now in 1895, a really bad accident happened. Tesla's lab burns down. Thing is, he kept all his notes, all his equipment, everything at that lab. So everything he thought of, every idea, every invention that he created, all of it, all the schematics and some of that are burned and destroyed. By 1900, he is financially supported by J.P. Morgan. He's like, I got this idea for us to communicate with people overseas wirelessly. And J.P. Morgan's like, really? You were right about that AC power. Maybe you're right about this. Okay, what do you need? And he tells them, I need this. I need this place. Wardenclyffe on Long Island. I need a place there to get things together. And he starts building this thing, a tower. Thing is, he runs out of money. The money that JP Morgan gives him, he needs more. And Morgan's like, you know what, dude, I already gave you a whole bunch of money, so no. Supposedly, people still to this day believe that the thing that Tesla was creating was actually a death ray machine. Some think that it wasn't a communication device, but rather a big old Tesla coil that could then give off free electricity everywhere, you know. So once that went away, Tesla basically kind of withered away. He spent the rest of his days in a New York hotel working on inventions, but his mental health faded. And it got to the point where he spent the last part of his years feeding and claiming that he could talk to pigeons. And some people were like, oh, this poor guy lost his mind. It's completely gone. Some people were like, I don't know, you can't underestimate Tesla. If he says he could do something, chances are he might be able to because the man's a genius. All right. So here's my question to you. Do you think that his mental illness contributed to his genius? Or do you think that because of his genius, it increased his mental illness? So what do you think? So you think it was because of the illness that made him a genius? Or do you think it's because of his genius that his mental illness grew bigger and worse as he got older? What do you think? All right. So pause the video, write your response because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, and apparently that's the end. I guess I didn't put an exit ticket. So, again, I'm so sorry, guys. I did not know this lesson would take 40 some minutes. I do apologize, but again, this is one of the most interesting people in history, and to go toe to toe with another genius, which was Edison. This was one of those things in world history that's only come up a handful of times, you know, where true geniuses go against each other, you know. So hopefully you guys learned something new. Hopefully when you really enjoyed it, hopefully some of the stuff sticks to you later on in the future. And if someone ever asks you stuff or you hear something on, I don't know, some trivia show, or if you're on a game, on your phone, and it comes up about like who created the wireless, this and that, your mind easily goes back to Tesla. Okay, so you guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.